welcome back. You're with us on Indian Open. It's the first company on Indian Open today in the corporate corner. It's the only pure play two-wheeler finance company and was one company highlighted at the Alpha Ideas 2020 event where Bloomberg Quint was an exclusive media partner. Muthoot Capital stands to gain a lot from the recent pickup in the scooter and bike sales as well. The question mark about the growth idea would only be what's happened in Kerala and how does that impact the company. Joining us from Chennai to talk about this is Madhu Alexiouse. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Muthoot Capital. Madhu, good having you. Thanks so much for joining in. There are two parts that I want to have this conversation in. One would be the long-term trajectory. Two would be the near-term concerns that the market would have with regards to the Kerala situation. Now, I guess let's start off with the Kerala situation. How bad or how not so bad is the situation for you? One, on the collections front, two, on the different districts that get impacted, because I reckon your overall exposure to Kerala would be to the tune of about 900 crores.
Good morning, Neeraj. I think let's begin this discussion with a positive note on how the two-wheeler industry is looking right now. Last year, the two-wheeler sales were around 2 crore approximately, all India total sales, of which about 35% of the total sales gets funded by finance companies. This year, first 4 months, we have seen a very robust growth in two-wheeler sales. The growth is about 15% plus, and the volume is about 75 lakhs. And while we close H1, we expect this to be about 1.1 crore. So which means that for the year, what we were thinking that the sale would be about 2.25 crore, we are very much there. H2 is the time when the festive season starts and the sales pick up. The H1 itself had been a great growth booster for two-wheeler finance. We had been growing consistently as a strategic direction. Our strategy was to grow non-south areas. Our non-south growth this year, first 4 months, had been 100%. On South business, we have grown by 40%, and overall we are at around 30%, which means that we are outgrowing the industry by almost double. Our distribution and the market opportunity that had been there, we've been able to balance that. So overall, very positive on this year and coming couple of years as far as two-wheeler financing goes. Coming to Kerala floods, let me give you a picture about our loan book that we have across Kerala. The most hit two districts, there our exposure is about 80%, 8% of our overall Kerala books. So it is translating to about 2 to 3% of our overall book across, total book of the company. In terms of, if you look at the other way, the vintage piece, if you take into account, most of the cases, like about 68% of the cases that we have funded in Kerala are within 1 year tenure, which means that almost 68% of our portfolio is covered through comprehensive insurance, because insurance is mandatory when we do the financing business. So we feel that a substantial portion of our portfolio is covered through insurance, and balance, let's say about 32% that is left out, which is in the 2 year, because the tenor in two-wheeler loans are very small, like 2 years and 2.5 years. So 32% is where about 50 to 60% insurance happens. So that is also safe. And besides that, in the second year tenor, the principal outstanding is so low that customer would generally feel to repay that and take his NOC rather than spoiling his repayment track record, given the the online tracking that happens through CIBIL and many other credit bureaus. So what we overall, what our thought about Kerala is that we are seeing about 2 to 3% of our book which is impacted, but these things need to be seen from a different perspective as far as Muthoot Papachan Group is concerned. We have a unique blend of distribution, especially in South and especially in Kerala. We are spread out in this state through about 850 plus branches of our flagship company, that is Muthoot Fincorp Limited.
Sure.
We have our own in-house collection team, which is unique in two-wheeler industry. In two-wheeler, generally the collection happens through agencies, but in Kerala we have a huge team which is on our rolls who does the collections. Given this blend, it's very important that how we positively engage with the customer, and customer had been dealing us generation after generation. We are a century-old company in this state, right. And we strongly Madhu, feel that
yeah. So Madhu, I'm getting a sense that you are a lot more optimistic about this Kerala issue not being as large an issue. Are we to assume that there is a base percentage figure that you have in mind which could be the worst possible outcome of this calamity for you as a company? Would it be restricted to the tune of 3%? And if indeed you engage with the customer as well as you're saying, and if in the insurance bit plays out as you're saying as well, then the number could not even be 3% of your overall loan book. Would that be an assessment?
I would say we are actually right now, our assessment is that it is around 3% of a book which is impacted, which is something which we need to address. But it is not that hunky-dory also that we may like to think like that. But it would be about 30 to 45 days that customer bounce back and start repaying, back to their normal repayment cycle. Currently, we are collecting about 50 to 60% of collections which normally used to happen in Kerala. That is a voluntary, how customers are coming to our offices and paying. So that is a good sign, and we hope that this would improve further. When I say 30 to 45 days impact, it also means that there would be impact on NPAs. We are seeing about 10 to 12 crore enhancement of NPAs by next 30-45 days, and maybe around November it would start reducing. I'm talking about Kerala per se. So overall, we are seeing that our NPAs would go up by maximum 12 to 13 crores in a couple of months. And November or December is the time when we think that it would start coming back. It is very important to mention here that last couple of years our NPAs had been drastically coming down, and with the growing book of 50%, we have ensured that NPA on absolute value terms also remained stable. So we still have a huge scope in terms of the industry standards. We'd been much better as far as NPAs and collections are concerned. So it is a matter of 30-45 days that we feel that the impact would play, and we should be able to come out by November.
Okay, Madhu, I'll play a bit of a rapid fire here. A couple of questions and just quick answers before we get to the long-term trajectory, because I do want to talk about that. One of the beliefs was that the QIP capital raised for growth may have to be used up for credit costs post Kerala, and therefore there will be a need for further dilution very soon. You would rule out that possibility?
No, I don't think so. In terms of our QIP that we have raised by till 2020, I don't think so. We would need to really do anything else. At 2020 is the time when we said that we'll hit a book of around 3,700 crore, two-wheeler standalone business. Of course, we have other products to launch as we go by this financial year. So it is still 2020. I don't think so. We need to look back and think about anything as far as capital raise is concerned.
Okay. Now, I would guess that, and I'm guessing that's the extent of the damage. You explained the Kerala bit very well. I don't think there could be a view that you can have on the possibility of a loan waiver by the local government, so I won't really get into that. I just thought that's an overhang that probably exists in the minds of certain people. Madhu, just one last question on Kerala before we move to the long-term trajectory. What's the loan given default in this business, and does this change pre-event and post-event?
I don't think so. Loan given default would have impact, because I have said that the tenor is not more than 2.5 years. And ultimately, what is left out, if at all, is at risk is hardly anything. So I don't think so. our assessment is it is not going to impact, and we are standing by our long-term guidance in terms of even this financial year. We are committed to the guidance that we had given earlier.
Okay, so are we to assume that not just till FY20, but maybe beyond that, because I'm sure you as the heads of business are probably not thinking only after 2 years, but the next 5 years. You are a relatively smaller player within the overall scheme of things, a relatively smaller part of the overall Muthoot group as well. Would a 20-25% CAGR on growth on the book for the next 5 years be a distinct possibility, Madhu?
Growth is not a issue for Muthoot Capital, because Muthoot Capital has a huge headroom as the NBFC within the group. Muthoot Capital focuses on asset-based funding. We are right now only in two-wheeler business, and in two-wheeler also, I explained in the starting of this discussion that we want to become all India player, and all India means non-South business. About 70% of two-wheeler sales happens outside South, and we need to really tap that, and a lot of initiatives on digital that is happening, a lot of initiatives on technology that is happening. With zero infrastructure costs, we are able to reach nook and corner of the country. So we have a huge headroom to tap two-wheeler business across the country, and then we have a lot of other asset finance business that we have not yet touched. We are piloting used car right now, followed by consumer durable is something which we'll like to do this particular year. And then, these two products coming into play next couple of years, I think we have a huge scope to grow next 5 years. And asset-based finance is a huge opportunity across the product lines that is available. And we, as a vision, we feel that the products that we launch would be what is meant for the common man, and what is his next aspirational need, and that is where we are focused when we say used cars, when we say consumer durables.
Right.
At the same time, we are very clear that any product that we launch, it should be something which is ROE 18% plus, and that is our focus. Ultimately, what we return to the shareholders is something which we are very sensitive about.
Sure.
So these are two things which would drive us as we go forward, and growth is something which is a great opportunity for us, and which we are not going to miss.
Okay, which is awesome. Just one last question. What will accompany this growth? And mention on two ratios as you see them, maybe 3 years out. One is whether you can bring down your gross NPAs from where they are. I know they are at an average level of what the worst NPAs and the best NPAs in the book in the country are, but can you bring them down further 5 years out? Two, can your ROE sustain above 20-22% 5 years out?
In terms of NPA, currently we have said we'll maintain below 5%. We are right now we are at 4.2 approximately. It is something which will be around 4 on a long term, and that is a commitment that we have. The collection model, the unique blend that I told you across the country, that we have a network of flagship companies, branches, our own teams, the kind of engagement that we do with the retail customers, that would really help us to be better in the industry. I think we'll be best in the industry. So 4% is around what we say long term. ROE, I said that any product that we launch, anything that we do, if it is 18% plus, is something which would make us attractive. So long term, 5 years, it's difficult to tell to you right now, but I'm saying about 2020 is something which is clearly sustainable and will deliver that. So in terms of our guidance, we are very much intact, and we are very much focused on that.
Oh, interesting. Madhu, thank you so much for taking the time out and throwing some light here. I think a few of investors particularly were worried about what the outcome could be. You've given ample evidence to believe that there might not be so much of a worry. All the best for the recoveries as well, Madhu. Thanks so much for taking the time out.
Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you very much.
Well, that's Muthoot Capital, sounding a lot more confident about the Kerala situation and the impact on business.